do a Q&A tonight. I've been getting a lot of questions and everything on both the live streams and as well as my email. So wanted to try to connect with you guys and maybe do a little Q&A with you, see what questions you might have. I've got a couple things that I found as well this past week while I was answering somebody's question on an email that I thought might be kind of interesting. So, hopefully you guys are tuned in and we can get this thing rolling. So let me know if you can hear me okay and if the video and everything is good. I think I've done some testing before I went live, and I'm glad I did because I had the whole deep voice thing again. So I was able to figure out what that was all about and get that fixed. So hopefully everything is going good, and you guys can let me know in the live chat. Thought I saw a couple people waiting for the live stream to go on. So I've got I've actually got something that I want to show you guys. So let me hop in there and I'll give you guys what I'm looking at right now. And I'm going to try to adjust the settings on the chat because the other day I had the chat where it was pretty much what they call no lag or whatever. And it seemed to work pretty well. So I'm going to check and see if I can fix that because I liked it where it had no lag. So I'm going to see if I can get that fixed really quick here and see what happens with that. It doesn't look like I can do anything with it after the fact. So, hey, Philip, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you, man. All righty. What I wanted to show you guys was, let's see here real quick. Let me get this fixed over here. And, all right, real quick here. Sorry, I'm trying to mess around with stuff. Awesome, cool. What homebrewing club, Philip? Where are you out of? I'm gonna transition over to my other screen real quick so I can kind of show you guys this. I actually was looking for something for somebody that had a question for me this week, and I found this on Brew Hardware, and I've got a link in the description down below, as a matter of fact. But it is actually a temperature controller that is PID based, and it's from Inkbird. I'm thinking about reaching out to him and see if I can get him to send me one to do a review on, but it's got a couple of outlets on it, and according to what the guys over at Brew Hardware have done, they have modified this unit so that this second outlet here normally is an alarm, but they've modified it and put another switch, and I don't know exactly where that switch goes, but they've put another switch in there so you could run a pump off of this. So that is pretty cool, and it's only $98.99, which, I mean, for what you get for the money, PID and a control box, it is 110 volts. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you couldn't run a 240 volt system off of it. But for those people that are maybe wanting to do like the RoboBrew is huge right now and is blowing up. I actually put together kind of a quick build out on that with pretty much all the stuff from Brew Hardware. And I was really close to the same price. The only thing that I think that I wasn't including in that was a chiller, no immersion chiller or plate chiller. So I was pretty close to the same price. It was right around pretty close to $500. So this is a pretty interesting device. And then some people have asked me about some RIMS devices as well. And they do sell a whole complete package. And that is $289 for a RIMS tube, element, and the controller. Let me see here, Brian. What are you asking me here? I think that you do get a little bit of a price break, Brian. I haven't priced everything out separately, and I'm assuming you're talking about from Electric Brewing Supply. I haven't priced everything out separately, but I can imagine there's some savings there. I don't know how much it is. I haven't, sit there and scrutinized the whole thing. I would imagine you're a couple $100 cheaper. I know that it's a few $100 cheaper if you build it yourself than if they build it. So it kind of depends on what you want to do, really. I mean, I really like that system, and I think it was great to build, and I certainly enjoyed sharing that with you guys. But I have an electric panel now, so I'm just kind of waiting on Ryan to tell me what he wants to do. So I haven't heard from him in a few days. So I'm kind of raring to go and figure out what we're going to do with that. So hopefully I'll hear something from him pretty soon, and I can let you guys know what's going to go on with that. So I don't know what we're going to do yet, and I'm kind of waiting on him. So hopefully that's the case. But yeah, I mean, I was looking at this, and as far as other equipment goes that would work with this, there's some kettles from Bayou Classic, And this is kind of like a there's a High Gravity Brewing. They make a system, and it's kind of like the same type of thing with that. And if you go and you look at like this 44 quart kettle here from Brew Hardware is like $111. It's got a basket in it, which is kind of cool. So I based the whole build that I did around that. And it was, I don't know if you can boil with that rims package or not, Josh. I don't think you could with the rims tube in there. I think you could probably, boy, I don't know, because that's yeah, I don't know. That would be interesting to see if you could. I know you couldn't boil with the rims tube working, but as far as maintaining your mash temperature, you definitely could. And then if you had a boil kettle that you had another 110 volt element in, you could definitely do that. So if you had like an element for your rims tube doing your mash, and then switched over to the other element, like plug the other element into that controller and boiled with that, it would kind of be like a, yeah, exactly. The thing with that is, let's take a look at that again, because let me see here real quick, because it doesn't really say for sure. I don't know if that has a triclover fitting on that or not, because I don't see anything there. It just says cam locks, and it says a temperature controller, and then so it has like a hot rod or hot pod that goes in there, and I'm assuming there's probably, because that's a tri-clamp rims tube, so I'm assuming it probably has a tri-clamp fitting that goes in there. So if that's the case, you could definitely put another tri-clamp, like a weldless, and he has some weldless stuff on here with the, let's see here, I'll show you what he's got on here. I think if it's in this spot right here. Yes, let me see here real quick. Let me find this. Oop. Triclover, let's see. I think he has some weldless fittings in here for that. There's some solder on, and then there's some actual, I'm not finding it right now. Let me see here. Sorry, I hope I'm not making you guys dizzy with going on the screen here. Trying to see what I can find here. Thunder Electric Brewing. Okay, I think it's element enclosures. Let's see. Yeah, so they do make, there is a weldless design on the triclover clamps, so I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to find those. Put me on the spot, Josh. I'll find it here in just a second. Let me see. It's got to be here somewhere, because I found it many times, but for some reason I can't seem to find it right now. Let's see here. It's under Electric Brewing, I think. And let's see here. Let's look at the rims hardware and see what that shows. I don't think, yeah, that's how I actually found that other one, was looking at the rims hardware. But let me see here if I can find it. I don't know why I can't find it right now. I thought it was under heating elements, but I can't remember. Let's see. Let's look and see. And that's the same place I just was. Let's look at this. Weldless. Whoop, not weldless. It's weldless. Let's see here. I know there's a, unless maybe he's taken them off the site. I don't think so. Oh, there it is, right there. Okay. So yeah, so with this $26 bulkhead, you could definitely do a swap between the two, because I think that rims tube is going to have the triclover fitting that's going to screw onto the element, and then you could use that in your boil kettle, and it's $26, which is not too bad really. So you could fit that into your boil kettle with another element, and then use the same hot pot and all that stuff with the element. I'd have to check with Bobby to make sure, but I think I'm right on that. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that from what I'm looking at over here with the temperature controller, I think that is correct, because he did have, let's see here, where's that at? Yeah, so with that, yeah, it doesn't say which hot pot it is, or hot rod, hot pod, whatever. But I'm assuming that it would be the one that, because that looks like a triclover rims tube. So yeah, I think that would be the case. So yeah, that would definitely be an option for you if you already have a kettle and everything. You could definitely do a rims tube with a pump in your like igloo cooler or whatever, and then use the same controller to do your boil. I think I'm going to try to contact Inkbird and see if I can get one in to do a review on, because I think this is a really awesome solution for people that are looking to get into it for pretty low budget. I mean, at $98, and then you add another $10 for them to do the actual switch to turn the pump on and off, that's not bad. Yeah, I mean, you could. I think the only thing with the Herms coil to chill a batch, you know, you could definitely do that. I think you would probably have, what you would have to do is probably put some like ice or ice water into your mash tun. You know, that would be the way you could use it as a chill coil. The only other thing with that is doing some cleanup on it, but you know, thanks Greg, I found it finally. Sorry for floundering there, guys. It's hard to find stuff on there sometimes, but I found it finally. So, but yeah, I mean, I think you could use a Herms coil as a chiller, but you would definitely have to put some ice water or something like that into your hot liquor tank in order to do it. So, I don't know if that is an option for you or not, but it's certainly, you know, I think it could be an option. Let's see here. Get back over here. Oh, by the way, cheers everybody. I am actually having a wheat beer. I did 10 gallons of it before my last live brewing session when we brewed the dark chocolate raspberry porter, and was actually able to, it finished out like pretty quick. I used 06, WB06, and some of the American Hefeweizen, the White Labs American Hefeweizen, and it finished out pretty quick, so I was able to keg it up earlier this week, and actually put some apple flavoring in it from Brewer's Best, and it turned out pretty good. I've done a wheat beer before and put apple in it. Yeah, I guess cheers. Thanks, Christian, for reminding me to take a drink there. I actually put a whole apple cider kit into a 10-gallon batch before, and I didn't really get all the apple that I wanted out of it, so I tried this time to do a little bit of natural apple flavoring, or not, well, I guess it is natural flavoring, but it's a Brewer's Best flavoring, and seemed to work pretty good, so I'm happy with it. And then I've got another 5 gallons of just the regular, so I've done all kinds of stuff with that base beer. Somebody on Instagram the other day was asking me about it. I threw the recipe up on Brewer's Friend, and I've done raspberry, blueberry, shandy with a packet of lemonade. It's so versatile. It's crazy. So I really enjoy that. But anyways, enough about my beer. What questions do you guys have regarding electric brewing? I've got my wiring diagrams for my electric brewing series up here. If you guys want to talk about you know, certain components in an electric brewing kit, or if you want to look at something else, I've got my other web browser up here. We can take a look at that. You know, just you let me know what you want to talk about, because I wanted to try to kind of do this for you guys so that you didn't feel like you were interrupting during the brew day. I hope nobody feels that way, but I kind of get a feeling sometimes that's the case. So, you know, I think that the turnkey system with Spike's Brewing, I mean, they make an awesome system, but you know, for me, I like to do DIY stuff, and I think there's some personal satisfaction that you get from building your own system and going through all those trials and tribulations and everything, and I think it makes you know what the system is all about, and you know every like single nuance of it. And I got nothing against those systems, and you know, I think you buy once, cry once is their motto, which is kind of cool. But you know, I actually like building stuff myself, just because I know what I did, I know what's in there. I'm kind of the same way with PCs too. I mean, I haven't bought a pre-built PC for a long time. I build my own because I know what I put in there. I know that, you know, how it works, how it went in, and I think it gives you a little greater appreciation for what goes into making one. And then if something goes wrong, then you have a little bit more of an understanding of, okay, you know, I'm going to trace it back to this or that. It's like I had a couple of issues with the electric brewing supply panel whenever I put it together, but having built several of them, it wasn't too big of a deal for me to try to troubleshoot that, and it was one of those things that I think the biggest thing was I had the confidence to be able to go in there and go, okay, I'm going to take my multimeter, I'm going to check this, I'm going to check that, because I've done it before, and this is what it seems like to me. So I think it gives you that experience that is kind of invaluable. That way you can kind of troubleshoot your own issues that you have. Some people, you know, want to just buy it pre-built, and I get that, and that's fine. You know, I mean, there's other things that I do that I just, you know, I'd rather just, like, take for instance my Blickman Quick Carb. I've used it like 4 times this past couple days. You know, a lot of people built DIY stuff out there, but you know, I wanted to buy it already pre-made and done. You know, so it's one of those things where sometimes I think it's good to spend the money on it and just not have to worry about it all, and you buy a product that you know works and everything is good. And then other times it's great to, you know, do a DIY. You know, So I definitely like that. Um, I think probably the simplest controller, Christian, that I would use, because I've actually looked at, because with the Robo Brew kind of coming in and out of stock, I've looked at, hey, can somebody build something that is comparable to that and would, give them maybe the same results? And this controller that is available through Brew Hardware, that one controller there, I think that really fits the bill for somebody that wanted to do something like that. Like I said, it's kind of like the high gravity systems, and I don't know how it compares with their system. I think their systems are pretty expensive. I'd have to go take a look. But let's take a look. Well, let's take a look real quick and see what it looks like. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find their systems here. Homebrewing, brewing systems, electric brewing. Let's see. So yeah, they've got some controllers on here. Let's see. Yes, I mean this one here, and it's it looks like maybe it's a 240 volt system. I'm not 100% sure. Let's take a look real quick. But let's see. Yeah, so you got different probes. Let's see here. Yeah, that's a 240 volt, 30 amp service, which is a little bit more high powered than that. But I mean, you're stepping up to $500 just for a controller for that. So I think really, and I've been impressed with the Robo Brew as far as how well it worked to boil wort and everything. I mean, I kind of ate my words on that. I had not really said disparaging remarks, but I had kind of said, hey, I don't know for sure how well those things will work. And I had to eat my words on that because it boiled really well, and I never had any issues with it. So let's see here, Mark. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely not mind doing a review on the Spike Conical. I honestly I don't think I would buy one. Chipachorian Kid, I think I'm saying it right. He actually did a review on his channel not too long ago. Pretty long review, but I guess he kind of helped them develop it or design it. So, I would definitely do a review on it. And since I've gotten the, gosh darn it, the Fermentasaurus, I couldn't think of the name for a minute there. Since I've gotten those, I've actually had an idea on those. And let me see here real quick. I'm actually thinking that I'm gonna be doing some other stuff besides just doing the fermentation with those things. There is, let's see if you can see that. Do you see the two holes right there? I am thinking that I can take like some 2x8s or 2x10s and screw them together and then put like a half round on top. And if you've seen the chill coil that's in that tank from Spike, I'm thinking about taking and trying to do a oblong chill coil that I can actually fit down inside of the Fermentasaurus fermenter and come up with some kind of basic temperature control, like either like an Inkbird or something like that, temperature control for it, and see if I can like home bake my own cooling system for the Fermentasaurus inside with a stainless steel, because you can buy some compression fittings that are completely throughput. So you don't have like a connection that's down inside of the fermentation vessel, and have it come out and connect some hoses to it. There was another video I saw online with a guy that had like a copper coil around the outside of the Fermentasaurus. I don't know how effective that is. I mean, it showed him dropping the temperature down, but I think it'd be kind of cool to make something that went inside. Incidentally, I did talk to one of the guys over at Fermentasaurus, or well, actually Keg King or Oxybar, one of the two, and they got some pretty cool stuff coming. I doubt they want me to divulge it, but I will tell you one thing I would say that they wouldn't have an issue with me letting you guys know is they are coming out with a larger unitank version of the Fermentasaurus that would do like probably like do like 10-gallon batches, which I had somebody comment on that when I posted my video about having larger capacity. So that'll be kind of cool if they actually come out with that. So yeah, I guess that's kind of a roundabout way to answer your question. But yeah, I mean, if they wanted to send me one to do a review on it, I would be happy to do that. I'd be happy to send it back, quite frankly. So you know, it's one of those things where you know, I don't need another fermenter, but oh, come on, Junior. Are you crashing my live session here? So you just built a BCS controller, and as far as the element in the boil kettle, I would say with that is I'd boil some PBW in there, and you know, maybe take like a Chore Boy makes a really coarse like a scrub pad, and I use that on my element that's not stainless steel, as a matter of fact, and haven't had any issues. You know, I would run some PBW through it, and that should pretty much clean it off. You know, as far as, I mean, mine has a little bit of residue on it here and there, but I don't find that it imparts any issues with, you know, off flavors in the beer or anything like that. As long as you get all the, you know, major crud off, and like I said, I would just boil some PBW in there, and that should kill off most everything, or some sodium percarbonate or whatever. I was actually able to pick up some All brand like Oxy cleaner, and that stuff works pretty good. So, when can you see the Easy Boil in action? That is a great question, because I don't have one yet. So I guess, you know, Christian, I'm going to have to get one of those. I know that Brian over at Thrash Metal Homebrew has one, and he did have some issues with it because he's in Colorado and he's like 6,000 feet above sea level. And he wound up having to go in and change a bunch of parameters in it. And I hope he makes a video of that, because I'd be kind of interested to see how that was. Because what happened was at higher elevations, I don't know if you know, if everybody's aware of this or not, but at the higher you go in elevation, the lower the temperature is that water boils at. And what was happening to him was, you know, the water or wort or whatever was coming to a boil at like 206 or whatever, and the controller was thinking it needed to go higher, like 212 degrees. And so because of that, he had to go in there and change some settings and drop it down, I think, to 209 or something like that. So, hey, Trent, how's it going, buddy? You know, so I would definitely, I think I'd like to try one out. I wouldn't even mind swapping my boil kettle out with one of those Easy Boils. As a matter of fact, I'd tell you, for people that are looking to get into electric, I was really surprised by the potentiometer, the SSVR that I did the review on for that Brew Panels. I was really surprised at how well that worked, maintaining a temperature. And you know, that I think the PIDs are nice for your boil kettle, but all you really would need is one of those potentiometers with a solid state variable, or solid state voltage regulator, I think is what SSVR stands for. I think the PIDs are just, you know, it's kind of a fancy thing you can put up there and see what the temperature is and all that stuff. But do you really need it? No, probably not. So you could save yourself some money with that. But that's my opinion. And I was talking to somebody about, you know, needing a second PID for the mash tun, and you really don't. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put a analog thermometer in line with your output on your Herms coil and see what the temperature's coming back at. And you know, I don't think you have to have a third PID in there for your mash tun. It's nice to be able to see that, but you don't have to. So yeah, probably so. I mean, you know, $40 there. All their controllers are right around the, you know, $40 to $50 mark. You still need an SSR with it. So I mean, it's one of those things where you're going to have some outlay, and then you got to have some way to cool that. So you need a heat sink. But yeah, I plan on trying something like that in the future. I think I want to try to do like a really small brewing system with one of those Easy Boils, like maybe a 1 or 2 gallon, something like that. So do something to, you know, for people that are like in apartments or whatever, and they can't do a full blown, you know, 4 or 5 gallons, if they can just do like a gallon at a time, or even for test batches for that matter. So I had some wild idea to do a turkey cooker brewing system the other day, but the minimum size brew kettle should be for the investment cost on an electric system. I guess I would need to know what size batches you're doing. I'm going to assume, just from the jump, that you're doing 5-gallon batches. And I really think, depending, and here's the biggest kicker to the kettle size. What is the kettle geometry? So when I say that, I mean, how big in diameter is it versus how tall is it? Because of the fact that if you have a geometry on your kettle where it's like, say, 1 to 1.5 or whatever, where you've got, you know, a kettle that's like 17 inches in diameter and 19 inches tall, you're going to have an issue where your level of volume is closer to the top because of the size and height ratio. So, you know, like I think Northern Brewer and like some of the others sell the Megapot, and it's supposed to be like the ideal geometry. I think it's 1:2 or 1:2 or something like that. I can't remember how they put it on there, but I would say as long as your kettle is fairly substantially taller than it is in diameter, you could get away with like a probably 9-10 gallon kettle to do 5-gallon batches. And if you're doing like a brew in a bag system, you know, it's one of those things where it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a brew in a bag system, which I don't know if that's what you're talking about or not, but you know, if you're just boiling wort in it, you could probably get away with like a 7 or 8 gallon kettle, something like that, and be okay. With the electric brewing, you have the ability generally to turn the element on and off with a switch, so it's not like propane where you have a lot of residual heat from the burner that's heating up the surface and the bottom of the kettle and all that stuff. With your element inside of the kettle directly contacting the wort, when you turn the power off, it basically, I mean, it kills any kind of heat that's going to it. So, you know, that's one of those things where you can control your boil over issue a little bit more with an electric system. So 2 to 3 says craft beer pie. Yeah, you know, I would like to. I do have a Raspberry Pi, Philip, and I'm probably will dabble in that at some point. I haven't had a chance to yet. There's several guys from my Homebrewing club that do have them and use them quite frequently. So, you know, it's one of those things where I might take a look at that and see. But I've got a Raspberry Pi, so I might as well try it. And then Christian said 2 to 3 gallons on a stove with a cooler. Yeah, so yeah, yeah, exactly. They kick you out of the kitchen pretty quick, especially after that first boil over, and you get like hot wort all over everything, and it's all sticky and nasty. And then, you know, invariably we don't clean up the mess as well as they do, and then, you know, then you're out. So. Tempting to make your own brew controller, and how do you feel about splitting? Yeah, I mean, if you don't, there's no issue with splitting it into 110 volt elements. I mean, you're just going to use, you know, one leg for one element, one leg for the other element. I guess I would ask Greg, why are you doing that? Is the question. I'm not 100% sure why you would do that, unless it's a wattage issue or something like that. So maybe you can enlighten me a little bit more with that. But there's no issue with, you know, branching it off into two different. You'd want two SSRs for it, which is going to kind of double your cost there. So I don't know where the cost savings and stuff is going to be on that. Yeah, so I guess I'd need a little bit more information with that. So yeah, John, you know, and that was me too. I brewed out in the garage for a long time. It was funny because I actually had you know, Facebook has the memories thing. It comes up the other day, and what was really funny about it was, it brought up a photo from like 5 or 6 years ago, and the photo was, you know, me. I posted a picture, and there's my propane tank and my turkey burner and my kegel out there. I'm in the garage, and what was the funny part about it was Kelly, my wife, commented on the photo and said, "Oh, the dark chocolate raspberry porter is the best." And I was kind of ashamed when I looked at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been like 5 or 6 years since I brewed that. So we recently brewed that on that live brew day with her. So that was I was glad that I finally did that, because she's been on me for a little while to brew that. So I don't know if she's watching tonight. She's actually out of town, so she might be watching. If you want to switch to electric brewing, Junior, you know, you're on the right channel for that. You just got to figure out what you want to do. I mean, it's, you know, if you want to do like brew in a bag, or you know, recirculation infusion mash system, or a Herm system, or what you want to do. Or if you want to do like an induction plate, there's a guy that works at the same company that I do. He uses an induction plate doing brew in a bag. I mean, he heats the water up, and, you know, you can do that too. You just have to insulate your kettle so it doesn't lose as much temperature, kind of like you would if you're doing just a regular all grain with a cooler or whatever. So probably the best place to shop online is are you wanting something like turnkey, or are you looking to make it your own, or what? Okay, so you can't get 240 volt in your apartment. That's a little bit tricky to do on that. I mean, you'd have to try to put, you know, two different circuits together. And and I'm no electrician, so, you know, please don't quote me on this, but from an electrical standpoint, that's probably not the most desirable thing to do. If you're going to do that, and let me I hope I understand correctly, you're wanting to do two 110 volt circuits come together and make a 240 volt circuit with those two 110 volt circuits. Is that what you're trying to do? Because that comment leads me to believe that's what you're trying to do. I don't know that for sure, but let me know. If you're not, you could just do. Oh, awesome, Philip! It made it all the way to Israel. It's funny because you bought. So I sold one to a guy in Illinois, and then Israel, and then today somebody from Thailand bought one. So I was really happy that I did the worldwide shipping. And I tell you what, all you U.S. folks, the other countries abroad are going to put everybody to shame if the U.S. folks don't buy the stickers. So, but yeah, so it's one of those things where if you're going to put the 240 volt together that way, I would be somewhat cautious with that. And I think I might have seen a post from you over on Homebrew Talk about it, and there's probably some people that are a little more skilled over there with that. But you can do it. Should you do it? I don't know if you should, because of the fact that you've got two different circuits, and it could lead to some problems. If one half blows and the other half doesn't, then you could have some issues with that. I would almost say if you want to do that, I would do like 210 volt elements and have one that you maybe could wire directly, like in the hot rod. Let's see. I think there's let's see here. All right, I'll send you some info, Junior. Let's see. There is I think it's called the hot rod, and it's like a heat stick. They're a little bit expensive, but let's see here. If there's a DIY one on here, let's see here. Let's see. I'll tell you. Yeah, hang on just a second, John, and I'll tell you real quick here. Let me transition this screen over here. So here's that heat stick, the DIY hot rod. I don't think it includes the element at all, but let's see here real quick. Let me see here. So yeah, that is like $59, and it's pretty cheap. And I would say you could plug one of your elements directly into the wall, a GFCI plug, obviously, but you could do that and then use your other one on a different circuit with your PID control for like doing a mash or whatever. I would recommend that. Personally, I would feel better about recommending that to you than I would be trying to figure out some kind of a controller where you combine two different circuits together, because really, they're not made to be done that way. And I'm not trying to discourage you, but I want you to be safe and not have a problem, burn your apartment down or something like that. So that would be something I might recommend over doing that, because you can just drop this over the kettle and all that stuff. So I would say, let's see, let me answer your question there, Philip, on the, let's see, Morebeer actually sells the, let's see here. Actually sells the pump from Keg King, and it is actually pretty cheap. Let's see here. Not pump. Let's see here. I don't want to subscribe. There is a Keg King pump from them, and this Keg King Mark II, this high temp magnetic drive pump, there was a review on it that said that the plastic broke off pretty easy, but as far as dollar-wise, I think it's pretty good. This is a little bit of a step up from the one that's actually in the Robo Brew, but that might be an option for you. And I'll put a link up to it in the description below. But yeah, that might be an option that's not going to break the bank for you. Let's see here. All right, let me see what... state your opinion on the... electric brew 120 volts. It's very hard to. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, YVA, on that. As far as the Robo Brew goes, I mean, it's pretty great for the price point. Having a controller and all that stuff. I mean, I think that's pretty good. I would tell you that, like I said, I did put that together with that system that I was just showing you guys, the controller on there. And it worked. I mean, I think I think it was like right around $500. You would have to do a little bit of cutting into the porting the kettle and all that stuff. Which if you wanted to have Brew Hardware do that for you, they could. But with that system that I put together, it's one of those things where it is a more durable kettle, and the basket is probably a little bit more durable than what's in the Robo Brew. Not to say the Robo Brew is not durable, but I do have a few concerns with how thin the metal is and all that stuff. I think if you take good care of it and don't beat it up, you'll probably be okay with it. But I think over the long haul, the other issue with the Robo Brew is the elements are integrated, and I think the controller's not integrated. It can be replaced, but if your elements go bad in the Robo Brew, then you're kind of stuck on that. You could maybe put one in the side, but that's the only other issue that I see with those. Where are you finding those solar pumps at? Let's see. Anyone having issues with the connections coming loose with the integrated tri-clamp elements? Huh. No, I haven't heard anybody having any issues with that. It's good that you didn't see them. I got you. That's funny. Yeah, I've heard a lot of negative things about those. I think they're 12 volt, aren't they, Philip? I've heard a lot of negative things about those and people having problems with them. So, oh, and there's the missus now. She's watching from out of state. So, hi, honey. All right, what the max amp my system uses it's probably about 26 or 27 amps. It's on a 30 amp circuit, but I would say with the element running. Either the hot liquor tank or the mash tun on full power plus a pump, you're probably looking at maybe 26, 27 amps, something like that. So that's the max that mine runs. I know that they do sell some that you can do back-to-back batches that are 50 amp, but I just hey Junior, we'll see you, buddy. I didn't want to put a 50 amp circuit in to do a back-to-back, and I rarely do back-to-back batches anyways. Whenever I use my system, I generally would just do like a 10-gallon batch if I'm going to do something big and do that. So, it's one of those things where I don't find the need to do back-to-back batches. It's a lot of work, as a matter of fact, anyway. So. Heating to mash out using a Herms, how do you do it? How long does it take, and what's the best way to speed things up, is it even necessary? Alan, the way that I do that is I actually ramp up the temperature in the hot liquor tank that the Herms coil is in. And you can kind of monitor it and ramp it up. Like you could set it, I usually set it to like 171, 172, and then, let it heat up. As it heats up, it'll start to cycle and hold at that temperature. It takes I'm going to say probably 10 or 15 minutes. I do think it is an essential step because the sugars that are in the grain at the higher temperature, they become a little more soluble. So you can actually rinse them out a little easier. I even recommend it for like brew in a bag folks to ramp that temperature up so that you can have a better efficiency as far as your mash out goes. But it usually takes probably maybe 10 or 15 minutes, something like that, to do it, and then I might hold it for a little bit, but not much. I mean, it's just a matter of ramping up the temperature to do the mash out, and then I generally fly sparge over top of that with the water that was in the hot liquor tank. I have in the past to kind of speed it up a little bit, put it to 180 or 190, and then whenever it gets really close at full power, I'll manually put it back down, because what happens with the PIDs when it starts to get close to that set temperature, it'll start just barely pulsing that element to get it up to that temperature without overshooting. So, I mean, you can kind of manually let it overshoot a little bit if you want, but it's one of those things where twist lock connections come off the element completely with a So, are they not twisting all the way on, or what's the issue with that? Hey, John, how's it going, buddy? Hey, Brian. Hey, Trent. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Brian. I was just talking about you. Matter of fact, I wonder if your ears are burning. We were talking about the Easy Boil controller. So, Let's see, 12 volt Chinese pump. Yeah, I was gonna say, as a matter of fact, talking about the Chinese solar pumps, I think that Brian can give us a little bit of a schooling on that, because I think he had those for his system, and I think he had some issues with them where like one of them crapped out on him. So, you know, it's one of those things where, again, you get what you pay for. But yeah, I was glad to see that Brian got his stuff taken care of. So, how's everything going, Brian? Is everything working good for you? When you brewing again? You know, you were working on the house. All right, cool, good deal. You know, I used to buy grains in bulk, but you know, I found myself they suck. I used to buy grains in bulk, but I found myself kind of almost pigeonholing myself into a certain style. I found myself I'd always brew an IPA or whatever. I tend to buy my grains fresh from either my local homebrew shop or Morebeer. You know, they do awesome for me because they are right over in Pennsylvania. I'm in Ohio. I can order stuff on Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll have it like on Friday. So, and at the latest, if I ordered on Thursday, I'm sure to have it by Saturday. I mean, it's like 1 day shipping for me. So to get it that way and have the, you know, because they move so much grain, it's always fresh. But, you know, as far as storage goes, I will tell you that, let me see if I can grab one of my containers real quick. Be right back. Pretty dusty, but these are generally something you can get from Home Depot, and they are they have an O-ring in them. Oh, this thing's dirty. They have an O-ring in there, and those were probably my best source for storing grain. Honestly, I had the best luck with those. I've seen some people do like pet food containers and stuff like that. Awesome. Yeah, it wasn't the SSR that was the issue for him. It was, I think it was more the PID, and I was talking about that earlier. The elevation he's at causes an issue with the boil temperature to be lower, and the way the PID was set up, you know, that was the issue with it. Was the PID was thinking that boil was at a higher temperature once he lowered it. I think that was what solved his problem. I'm not real close to Grape and Granary, but let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great if you can order. The biggest thing with ordering online is, and even with Morebeer for that matter, is that you generally can't order like 2 ounces of this or 3 ounces of that, and because of it, sometimes I'll kind of tailor my recipes where I'll take a look at it and go, okay, I'll put a pound of this in and a pound of that, just to make it easy to make the recipe. I generally, the only recipes that I do clones on has probably been the zombie dust, but other than that, most everything has been pretty much my own recipe, or I've kind of, like I'll do the same thing with cooking different dishes and stuff. I'll go online and take a look and see, what ingredients I like, and then develop my recipe from there. So. Yeah, Brian can tell you a little bit more about what the easy boil adjustment is as far as temperature goes, but I think there's like it's kind of weird, and he can explain it probably better than I can, but there's like it'll go to a certain temperature and then hold there for you to turn it up, I think, so that you don't overshoot or boil over. Yeah, so it what it does is it'll go to just almost to boiling and hold there, and I think you can adjust that setting, and then that will like let you set it to, like, say if you're at sea level, and your boil is like 212 or whatever, it'll let you hold it at 208, 209, and then whenever you go and actually turn the dial up, I think it'll actually cause it to, then you'll bring it to a boil, and it'll bypass that hold temperature set point. And that was what he had the issue with, was that it was trying to hold it at a higher temperature, and so it was just keeping the SSR on the whole time. So anyway, I'm going to build a Herm setup, currently using propane. How much room should I leave at the bottom of the HLT for a further conversion to electric? I would say on the HLT, you don't really need, I would put my element as close to the bottom as you can possibly get whatever your element enclosure is. Because, and here's why, when you put your Herms coil in, you're going to want it as low as you can possibly get it without touching the element, so that when you put your water in your hot liquor tank, you don't have to fill it up more than what you need. With mine, if I do like a 5-gallon batch, I fill it up way more liquid than I need in my hot liquor tank, because of the fact that I want to cover the coil completely so I can get a good efficient heat transfer in the Herms coil. And so I have to fill it up way higher than what I need, which is okay, but it's one of those things. So, so yeah, I would recommend trying to put it down as low as you possibly can. Oh, there's Kelly Huntley. Thanks, honey. Cheers. Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I thought I was correct there. So yeah, I mean that's that's one of those things that's kind of cool about the Easy Boil. It will allow you to bring it'll bring it up to near boil, and then it will force you to actually take it beyond boil so that you don't boil over. So. She's probably watching on the TV in her hotel room, I imagine. Maybe not. I don't know. All right, what else you guys want to know? Hit me with something. Yeah, no problem, Joe. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm glad to share that stuff with you guys, because whenever I built my system, I had no idea. I tried to put mine down as low as possible, but I probably would have put it a little bit lower if I'd have known. There's a lot of things I would have done differently, Well, I guess I don't say a lot of things, but there's some things that I would say differently. I would do if I had to do it all over again. I think, as I talked about earlier in the video, was that everything that I went through was great, and just kind of brought me to this point where I like to be able to share knowledge with you guys and all the stuff that I've gone through, and it's fun. I mean, it's so much fun that it just adds a whole nother aspect to the brewing that you don't get with like a gas-fired system. So I don't know. I've always liked tinkering with electronic stuff. So, no, the new the new controller that I think, if you're talking about the one that Brian is talking about, the Easy Boil, that actually is the one that it has a dial for the power output on it. It's not a potentiometer; it's an actual PID. Well, I think I take that back. I don't think it's an actual PID. It's a little bit different than a PID, but it uses an algorithm and all that to maintain temperature. What came first, the beer or the glass? I imagine probably it was probably the beer, because they drank it out of clay pots originally. So what else you guys got? I love to answer questions from you guys. If you wanted to add hot spice jalapeno to the brew, I would probably add it in either primary or secondary. I wouldn't add it to the boil kettle. I would probably do it in the secondary. And, it's one of those things, I would probably play around with it. And, you're going to probably want to put some seeds into it. Some of the veins in the actual jalapeno itself with some seeds. Maybe drop like 1 or 2 in, let it sit for a couple days, see what you get. And then, if you need more heat, add some more. But then as soon as you get the heat level that you want, I'd definitely rack it off of there and put it, either if you're going to bottle it or whatever, I'd definitely do that. I haven't done it personally myself. I think Brian over at Thrash Metal has done some chili beers before, but I'm not sure. Internal heating on the professional boiling. Chris, I don't know for sure that they're more efficient than the induction pad, because of the fact that that's heating the actual kettle itself directly through magnetism. So it's kind of like direct contact with the wort, like the internal element is. But I would imagine it's probably a little bit more efficient with the actual element right in the wort. They're probably really close though, as far as that goes. Peanut flavored a stout. You know, I have done a stout with some peanut flavor, and I've used this in secondary. PB2, and a lot of drugstores, or not drugstores, but like Walmart and a lot of those places carry it now. You know, you can try some of that. I think this is a pound. I think I put a pound in a 5-gallon batch. So I would say, you know, I would try that, but you might actually have to go with like with just a peanut, you know, like a flavoring from Brewer's Best, like a bottled flavoring for peanut flavor. I've heard that works pretty good. Let's see. Do I control my firm? No, not yet. Tetman74, I don't. I take it back. I do, but it's very primitive. I have a big tub that I'll put my fermenters in and like rotate some ice packs. I have my hop freezer that I use. I'll rotate some ice packs from that around into the actual bucket with ice in it, and it works pretty good. I mean, it's kind of like a swamp cooler type thing. But as far as having a actual fermentation fridge, I don't yet, which that's one of those things kind of on my list I'd like to get. But you know, it's one of those things where it all takes money and time, and you know, I'm brewing and doing other things. So, and we're coming around to the cold time of the year, so usually the basement stays somewhere around, I don't know, 68, 69 degrees, something like that. And then I've actually got a bathroom that is over in the corner of the basement that stays a little bit cooler just because it's up against an outside wall, so I can put stuff in there if I need to and control the temperature that way. It did get pretty warm this year in the basement, and I had some issues with some of the fermentations that I was doing, and that's why I had to go to that bucket with the ice. But, you know, I guess it's kind of funny. I've got the nice electric system, but no way to control fermentation. So, you know, I don't know. You know, everybody's always got work to do on their brewing process, I guess. You know, just about the time you think you've got it perfected, then, you know, you discover something else that you need to do. But I've known I needed to do a fermentation fridge for a while. Just kind of, I think I'm going to do a freezer so that I can fit 2 of the fermentosauruses in there and maybe one of the Speedles in there at a time. So... Oh yeah, Jed, I could do that for you. I always thought people would just, you know, not want to see it, but yeah, I mean, we can. Then I tell you what, Jed, the next live session that we do, if you wanna stay on there and let me know you're on there, I'll let it run all the way through cleanup. I got no problem with that. If you want to do that, I don't have any problem. Old cooler with a computer fan, drop an ice pack. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's, you know, that works, John. I mean, you know, it's one of those things where it's primitive, but it definitely works well. And you know, I don't have any issue with that. Josh, my kegerator right now is it's a Keyser with I think I've got a 2x8 collar around the top, and it's got 4 taps in there. You know, it's one of those things where I've had some issues with my Perlick faucets, and I need to get some rebuild kits for them. So I'm actually using picnic taps on it right now, which works fine. But you got to open the lid to dispense the beverage every time. But I need to rebuild my Perlick faucets because I took them all apart and cleaned them, and then they leak. So I don't know, maybe I put them back together wrong or something. I'm not sure. But think Kelly, yeah, right? Yeah, wow, the last time Kelly cleaned the mash tun out and all that stuff, so we were cleaning as we went. But I could definitely show you guys, because I have had a time where periodically I'll use my connector that I have for all my hoses, and I'll run everything all together. So like hook the 2 pumps in series, so like out of one pump into the other pump, and then into the boil kettle, through the Hermes coil, through the mash tun, all that stuff, and just run PBW through that for like about a half an hour with heating it up in the boil kettle, and you know, clean all the hoses, the pumps, everything out. That works pretty good, but I don't do that all the time. Oh yeah, and also in that mix, I'll run it through the counterflow chiller, so it's this crazy, you know, crazy circuit of all these hoses and everything. Have you tried doing Lodo? Dan, and welcome, Dan, by the way, the master of the sour beer. Good to have you. I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about with Lodo. enlighten me because I'm not for sure what you're talking about. Have an island vent hood, but have an issue with the moisture buildup that drips back down in the boil. Have to wipe it every 10 minutes. Where's it dripping from? Is it dripping from like the flat surface inside, or is it dripping from around the edges? What are you experiencing there? Israel, yeah. Israel room temperature during the summer, 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and keeps raising. Yeah, I imagine you guys probably have an issue with that for sure. What do you do to try to control your fermentation, Philip? Doing a Lodo on your system. I don't know what you're talking about, Dan. You got to enlighten me. Chest freezer, yeah, and actually I do use my, like, if I don't have something in my chest freezer sometimes, like if I'm, it holds 4 kegs, but if I have only 2 in there, I will definitely use it for cold crashing and whatnot. So, it definitely works good for that. I haven't tried to use it for actual fermentation. I hate trying to lift. I mean, if you can imagine, it's pretty heavy. You try to lift the fermenter up over the collar into the keezer and all that stuff and try to pick it back up. It's a little bit of a pain. It's kind of scary sometimes because the condensation on the carboy and all that stuff. I'm afraid I'm going to drop it sometimes, but let's see. Take both. I take out the filters, and it's the inside below the fan. I would say, Alan, on that, if you could get maybe, what I would try to do is maybe find a. You could do it with like even Lexan or something like that. I would try to put a flat piece in there that is, so like if you have, like, this is the hood and your fan outlet is over here, I would try to put a piece of Lexan or some kind of metal. You might have to go with stainless steel if you can't get, so it doesn't rust, but put it at an angle so that as the condensation comes up to it, it's going to roll down and drip away from your boil kettle. As far as like finding a way to channel it some way, you might be able to get some, and I've thought about doing this with mine, but I really don't have too much trouble. I thought about getting some aluminum channel and glue it on the inside of the hood, and then put a fitting in there that you can put a hose on, and have all of the channel run at an angle so that it kind of runs downhill and then to that drain. You might be able to do something like that. So awesome, Christian. Thanks for buying one. Yeah, STC 1000 controller. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the way to go for sure. Crazy talk, not full. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, brew as much as you can, but when you give a bunch of it away and all that stuff, then sometimes you wind up with, not a full keezer. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Dan, I'm still trying to figure out what you're asking me there. Lodo on your system. Does anybody else know what he's talking about? The Lodo? I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if it's a kettle soured beer or what. Yeah, you could get a larger fan for more airflow, but I mean, sometimes there's just an issue where you don't have a whole lot of choice with, getting condensation on there. I mean, my hood is so big, and I think it's only like a 600 CFM fan, and it's, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I put a piece of like styrofoam in there to direct the steam a little bit more than when it was open, because if it's completely open, the steam will fill up the entire space in there, and then it doesn't suck it out very well. So, I just put like a little styrofoam divider in there myself to try to help direct the flow, because it's purely aesthetics really for the way my hood is built to cover the entire brew table, and it's really not even necessary for having to have a fan over top of the mash tun and the hot liquor tank. So, low oxygen brewing. Okay. Low oxygen dissolve homebrewing technique that claims hot side aeration is an issue. I have not tried it. I will tell you though, homebrewing techniques that claims that hot side aeration is an issue for more southern climate. I will tell you that I did have an issue with hot side aeration, and I'll share that with you guys. When I brewed the Zombie Dust clone that I just did on the Robo Brew, I thought I would be fancy and run my Blickman Riptide and recirculate while I'm chilling. Well, I had the cam locks and everything in place, running off of the Robo Brew and all that, and I forgot to clamp one of the cam locks down completely. And I didn't realize it until probably 15, 20 minutes had gone by when I was trying to chill with the immersion chiller that comes with the Robo Brew. I was sucking in air through the cam lock that was not as tight as it should have been. And I actually experienced some hot side aeration with that beer because it's in the fermenter now and it's about done. But when I brewed it the last time, I had so much more aroma from the citra that was in it. But the beer, it has a good bitterness to it, but I think that hot side aeration completely oxidized the hops. And I do have to do dry hopping, so that'll help bring some of it back. But, you know, it completely ruined the aroma additions that I did. And I think the flavor is not anywhere near where it should be either. So, you know, my experience with hot side aeration is not fun. So it was by accident, but I'm not sure why people would do it on purpose if they do. Yeah, I don't know why people would do that. So, I mean, my experience with it has been negative. So, I'd hoped that it wouldn't cause an issue, but it definitely did. So, you know, it wasn't intentional that I tried that. But I actually saw something on the Home Brewers Association about hot side aeration, and I didn't get a chance to read through the entire article because it was like 27-page PowerPoint presentation. But it was one of those things. So. The Robo Brew is still around. I will tell you guys that Mark, the guy that actually reviewed it with me, he has taken it off my hands because he wanted to brew and we couldn't get him one. So he actually has it in his possession. I have borrowed it again, and it will be back around for multiple showdowns with other brewing systems. But he actually has it currently. And you know, lets me borrow it if I want to do a video, or he'll bring it over. But yeah, he actually has it right now. So you know, he took it off my hands, and you know, basically he couldn't get one, so he bought it off of me, and that's that. So, but it's still around. You know, I am still exploring either getting another one or building another system myself that's 240 volt. So, but you know. And they're still not back in stock yet, by the way. So that's the long and the short of it. Yeah, I guess John is right on that. The duct work. Okay, okay, okay. All right, I got you. You do AC installation commercially. Okay, so you know, and mine is probably my issue. Excuse me, with mine not pulling the air out all the way correctly. Probably has something to do with the fact that I reduced down from 6 inches to 4 inches to go out of the side of the house, because the joists over there that are close to the side of the house, I only had like this much space to be able to get up and elbow out of the house. So that was an issue that certainly came up when I was installing everything. So. Very good, very good. Okay. 20 liter. Yeah, I remember you saying you had the 20 liter. Yeah, I mean, that's. I definitely like the single vessel brew in a bag for sure. I have seen the mash and boil, Josh. It doesn't have a pump with it. I mean, you could put a pump with it. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Colorado Clyde. I did Mark did the first beer we ever did in it for the one review that I did was ESB. That came out awesome. I had some of the beer on that. Mark recently did a pale ale that I got to try yet on it, and my Zombie Dust clone that I did on it I think we did a live brew day for it. It turned out awesome. I mean, I couldn't find any Zombie Dust to compare it to, but excuse me, wheat beer overcarbonated, not overcarbonated, just well carbonated. And I mean, it turned out awesome. I had no issues with it at all. It turned out great, and I wanted to find some Zombie Dust that I could compare it to, but the places locally didn't have any of it in stock, and I gave quite a bit of it away, quite frankly, and so by the time it did come back in stock, I was out. But I actually do have a review of that coming up, and I was kind of saving it for whenever the Robo Brew comes back in stock to let everybody know it's back in stock and all that stuff. But I've got a review of it that we did on that beer, and everything I've tasted out of it, you know, is good. And I belong to the Robo Brew forum over on Facebook, and everybody's had really good luck with that. So, the 2362, I think that my channel actually has. Let's see, what are mine? Let me see what mine are. I think mine are. So what? Let me see if mine are 2352s or 62s. Hang on, let me take a look real quick here and see. Because I think mine are 2352s, maybe. Bear with me for just a second. I'll try to see here. Because I did a complete setup video on mine to show everybody how to do that. Let's see real quick here. I mean, kind of the same thing with that, you know, just as low as you can possibly put it, and still have it function properly. I don't think there's any issue with putting it as low as you possibly can. You Englished it up. Yeah, so, you know, there's no reason why you can't put it as low as possible. You got a nut on the inside and all that stuff, but as long as you can get that nut on there and everything, there's no issue with that. Because I think you'll probably have it naturally is going to be below where you can put the element anyways, but you know, just put it as low as you can, and just so it stays out of the way of the Herms coil. Let's see here if I can find that video. Bear with me for just 1 second here. I can't remember if mine are 2352s or 62s. Come on, computer. Let's see. To go back into the archives here. I didn't realize how many videos I've done until I start looking through them. Let's see here. It's in the electric brewing series that I did, and let's see, where's that? Okay, there's that one. There's that one. What is this? Yeah, it's a 2352. Sorry. So what is the difference with the 2362? I guess I could take a look and see. I don't remember what the differences are with that. Let me see here real quick. So what's the difference between the 2352 and the 2362? Yeah, it looks very similar to the 2352. Do you have it? Are you looking at the 2362 for some reason, or? Because let's see here. Oh, okay. So you're actually talking about the 2352, not the 2362. Because if you're talking about the 2352, that's the ones that I have in my system that I built, and which were the recommendation on, you know, Cal over at Electric Brewery, his website. That was the recommendation that he had on there. And let's see here. Why am I not finding it on there? Huh. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Let me look here at the PIDs real quick. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the 2352 for the SSR, that's what I actually have in mine, and that is, I like it. It works really well. I mean, I haven't had any issues with mine at all. I take that back. I did have an issue where one of mine stopped controlling the SSR, I think, and I just swapped out the mash tun for the hot liquor tank PID and kept going. I haven't had any issues with the other one since, but let's see here. I'll throw a link in there for you real quick on the 2352, because I did a complete setup video and all that stuff showing you how to change all the settings and everything on that. I've got that here. All right, where's that? What else you guys got? Hit me with some more questions. Let's keep this thing going. What do you guys think about doing like one of these once a month or something like that? So if you if those of you that are building a system or whatever have some questions. I don't mind answering questions on the... yeah, Philip, thanks for hanging out with us. Hope all is well in Israel. And have a good time. Have the 52. I just... Okay. You know, I'm not sure what the differences are. It looks like it's a little cheaper and maybe a little bit less complicated than the 2362. Let's see. I'm trying to see here because I'm looking at it and it's cheaper. It's like $41.25. Let's see what the outputs are. Yeah, I mean it has an SSR output and all that stuff, so I don't see any reason why it would be that much different than the other. Can you switch it to yes, I own pants, okay? See, I don't see a reason why it would be any different than the 2352. It looks like it has pretty much all the same features, but maybe just a little bit cheaper. I guess it says the cold junction compensation circuit has been improved for increased accuracy when using with a thermocouple sensor. New true on-off mode for controlling. Okay, so it has some things where it will delay switching on and off. So like if you're using it to control a refrigerator or something like that for temperature control, refrigerators and AC units and all that type of thing don't like being switched on and off real quick. You can burn out the compressor and all that stuff. So it has a way to delay that in there. But other than that, it looks pretty much about the same as the 2362. And I think, let's see, yeah, manual control function. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it looks like it has pretty much about everything that the 2352 does. So I don't see a reason at all why it would be much different. I'd have to look through the manual to make sure and tell you whether or not the settings and everything are different. But I would imagine it's probably pretty close to the same. So I mean, you know, as far as with the pricing, if you can get it for cheaper, $4 or $5 cheaper, then you know that allows you to buy something else. So it looks like maybe it's a newer version of the 2352. So. Yeah, Josh, so if you... what are the chances a PID could be bad that is brand new? Well, I mean, it can happen. So are you experiencing an issue with yours right now, or what's the deal with that? I'm going to refill my beer real quick while I'm waiting on the answer. All right, I'm back. Mr. Bill, build up on the elements. Okay, so when you say build up on the elements, are you talking about the RoboBrew, or are you talking about electric kettles that I have? What are we talking about? Cheers. Woo. Cheers, everyone. If I can stop from choking here. About 25% of the time. You know, I'm not 100% sure how the Grainfather controller works. I'd have to look at what the outputs and stuff are on it. I know it kind of snaps magnetically on there, but I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if there's other circuitry that's in the bottom of the Grainfather that's not a part of the controller. I'm almost thinking that there is. That like there's some kind of a solid state relay or something that is in the bottom of the Grainfather that controller actually controls. So I don't know for sure about that. Hey Rob, good day. Sunny Barossa Valley. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of gunk that builds up on them, but it's nothing horrible. And like I was saying earlier, I just run some PBW through it and let it circulate, and a lot of stuff comes off. But then you can take I have a really coarse pad. I'll use one of these to clean it with. It's like a Chore stainless steel, really coarse scrubbing pad, if you will. So I'll use that to clean it with, and that pretty much cleans up all the gunk. So rims tube PID is constantly firing kettle. Huh. That's interesting. I would yeah, I would definitely check it out and see if there's a setting that's incorrect or something. Make sure that you have it in the temperature mode and not the pulse width modulation mode that is running on 100% or something like that. That would be my thing. Just check and see about that. So, well, Rob, you just popped in. What electric brewing questions do you have? Any at all, or what's happening? Trying to answer some questions. I get a fair amount of questions in comments and also in email from time to time. So I wanted to try to dedicate a live session to just answering questions from you guys. I had intended on it being an hour, but there's so many people that are asking questions. I thought, what the heck, you know. I'll stay on for a little longer. No problem for me. I'm here by myself. Kelly's watching on the telly, probably. Let's see. Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, you might have a bad PID. It's not impossible. You know, with the excuse me, with the electric brewing supply system that I built, they had two different PIDs that they sent out with the systems, and the one that I had in place for the hot liquor or the boil kettle was the one that didn't have an SSR output on it, so I had to switch those around. But yeah, I mean, you know, that would be what I would check, is just see what the settings are internally on it and see what that is. Kelly's out of town. I'm lost. Whatever. Got to go out of town for work sometime. For this live stream, I'm using a Logitech C920. I did a whole tutorial video on the OBS system and what I'm using for the camera. Now, I will tell you, the audio is not the audio is not from the camera, because it's not the greatest in the world. I'm actually using like a way overkill setup. I've got a boom microphone that's just out of camera reach here, a little Rode Video Mic Pro, and then I'm using this, let's see if I can bring it into the picture, Zoom H5 for my audio interface. So it's way overkill for what you need for this, but okay, 3-vessel system, own a Robo Brew, cool, awesome. Oh, I like polo shirts. I don't have any problem with polo shirts at all. Matter of fact, the thumbnail for this, I was in a polo shirt for work. I cut my hose on my boil kettle, and cut holes in my boil kettle, and they only fit 110 volt elements I got out of a coffee shop hot tea kettle. I was thinking of split 220 volt into 2 line and running with SDC. That might work. See you, Remigius. Yeah, Greg, you know, I don't know. Okay, coffee shop hot tea kettle. Are they irregular holes that you cut in the kettle? Are they not round? Are they some other shape? I guess I'm kind of curious to know why they only fit that particular heating element. Cheers. Let's see. Some guys are using SSR and mechanical relays. Okay, so the mechanical relays in the control panel are kind of a fail-safe, and we use those in the control panels to actually engage the circuit that runs the elements. So the SSR and the PID will control the element. I mean, they do control an aspect of the heating of the element, but SSRs actually fail to a on state, so like they'll fail closed, if that makes sense, and that's what you would call it, as a closed circuit. So if you didn't have a switch on there and you plugged in or turned on your panel and the SSR had gone bad or whatever, and you didn't realize it, the heating element would actually be on like 100% if the SSR had gone bad and failed to an on state. So it's just one of those, kind of a fail-safe thing to keep the elements from dry firing when you don't want them to. So, oh yeah, definitely. I think he actually, John, he's been wanting to bring 210 volt circuits together and make a 220 volt circuit out of it, which, as I said before, technically you can, but I don't feel comfortable about recommending it, honestly. And I understand you're in a bad spot with whatever it is, but hey. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, VH for sure. Yeah, we enjoy having you. I see you all the time on there, so we really enjoy having you and appreciate it. Cheers to you. Have a good night. Yeah, and that was kind of what I had said to him, Mr. Bill, was that could he put one element on all the time and then run another one on the STC 1000? That might be, I think it would be maybe a more viable option. If you're doing like a brew in a bag and you wanted to just mash with one element and have the STC control the temperature while you're doing that, and then plug the other element directly into a GFI circuit and have it run direct, and then use your STC 1000 to control your boil rate. I think that's, that would be what I would prefer more than trying to make a 220 volt circuit out of two other 110 volt circuits. I'd feel safer about recommending that, quite honestly. So, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. It's, I've said it before, I'll say it again, beer's not worth dying for. And you got to be careful when you're working with electricity around any kind of liquid. So always safety first, for sure. Oh, I have a stalker with an upside down smiley face. Too funny. Cheers again. Incidentally, honey, I got your dark chocolate raspberry porter, and the regular porter is carbonated up. So when you come home, you'll have to have some. Sorry you're not here to try it now. All right, what else you guys got? Hit me up with something else. I need a challenge. Give me a hard question. Come on. Stump me. Make me go find an answer. Come on. Do it. Let's see. Let's look at something else here. Let's see what else we can find to look at. All right. It's getting awkward. It's dead air. I need somebody give me a question. I'm gonna start whipping out the trivia here in a minute and see if you guys can answer some beer trivia. Where's Ryan from Beer by the Numbers? We need him over here for some beer trivia. Is it your birthday? No, it's not your birthday. It's just a good time. Too funny. It's waiting for you. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Whew. Got a bunch of hops all over the place. What is RMS in electric terms? RMS, that usually deals with audio. Did you try the Blickman? How far away is the birthday? Her birthday is more at the beginning of the year. It's not near this. Let's see, RMS. Now, I was going to say, Mr. Bill, you're not talking about rims, are you? Or are you talking about, if you're talking about RMS, most of the time, that is an audio, let's see, that's an audio term. Let's see. And usually it has to do with the output. Let's see. I like trivia. We are in the Columbus area. Okay, so RMS, and I guess this is not necessarily audio, not only audio, but RMS power ratings, root mean square, which is a statistical measurement of the magnitude of a varying quantity and is applied to voltage or current. So it's basically RMS power rating is a measure of continuous power that an amplifier can output or a speaker can handle. Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay. Mine. I just had mine not too long ago. And by the way, Josh, I have not had that 120 yet. I was gonna have it on my birthday, and I forgot to take it with me when we went out of town. And so, very funny, Mr. Bill. He made me look it up. I couldn't remember what it meant. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, right. Your favorite show. Your husband's on TV. That's funny. Oh man, that's hilarious. All right, let's see here. Beer trivia. This has turned into a beer trivia show instead of an electric brewing show. All right, let's see here. Let's see what I can find here. Oh, I don't want to take a quiz. Let's see. Oh Lord, these are all like mass-produced beer questions. I don't want to do that. Yeah, actually, man, I do grow my own hops. I have the Cascade, and I also have Chinook. And let me see if I can find some pictures of them real quick here. I bet I can, because I did. Let's see here. I have some photos of them somewhere. I can find them real quick. Oh yeah, no doubt, yeah. And somebody commented on that. As a matter of fact, and it's one of those things like with that 120. I'm like, I don't know. I want to have it, but then I'm like, I don't know. I just one of those things where I've never had it before, so it's like I want to make sure that it's good. So. Yeah, Mark, I'm still using a Riptide pump. Been using it every single brew day. Haven't had any issues with it so far. I had one thing the other day where I was running some like boiling water through the system, and it kind of squealed a little bit, but nothing major. I've never had it squeal when I was running wort through it. I think it just had to do with the just hot, water that was just not viscous liquid, whereas normally, wort has a little bit of viscosity to it. So here is the second harvest on my hops. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull this over here correctly. There's the second harvest on my hops that I did. This is the Cascade, and that was the Chinook. I actually pulled off about, I think, almost a pound, something like that. I'm actually going to do a pale ale with the Chinook for bittering. They have a pretty decent bittering, kind of a little bit of a piney flavor to them. And then I will use the Cascade for both aroma and flavor at the end. I haven't done it before, but this year I'm going to do a complete 100% my own hops. I know it's kind of risky because you don't know what the alpha acids are, but I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do it and see how it turns out, and hopefully it'll turn out good, but we'll see. So let's see here. Building a 2-vessel recirculation system shortly. What's your opinion on PID brands, and also on info on temp probes? If you want to go, I guess, are you doing 240 volt? A 240 volt system, or are you doing a 110 volt system? Assuming you're going to do a 240 volt system, I would say I have seen pretty good success with the Easy Boil from Aber, and the SYL 2352s, and probably the 62s that somebody was talking about earlier are not a bad thing. I think the Easy Boil are probably a little bit easier to deal with as far as like controlling your boil rate because they just have a dial on them that you turn. The 2352s, you actually have to adjust the pulse width modulation percentage, which is not horrible, but I mean, it's just one more thing you got to get into a menu system for. So if you want just the, easiest way to do it, probably the easy boil would be the best way. Let's see here. Have a fluke for work. Okay, you grow them in Ohio, live in upstate. Okay. Yeah, I would try it, John. I definitely, that Cascade is not a bad one to try with as far as hops go. I mean, they're very hardy. I haven't had any issue with that at all. Any disadvantages in electric brewing with converted kegs over kettles? No, I haven't. I wouldn't say there's any issues with it at all. I mean, there's people that do electric brewing system in kettle. I mean, in kegs all the time. So there's no issue with it at all. Matter of fact, there's one thread on Homebrew Talk. The guy actually put a bottom drain on a couple of the Sankey kegs, and I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, if you got them, convert them, man. Don't buy extra stuff if you don't need to. Save money, spend it on something else. Get a good pump, buy a box, whatever. Pizza's here. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mr. Bill, I'm assuming you're out on that if the pizza's there. I will definitely try to look at doing one of these. Maybe we do one of these once a month. If you guys have questions or whatever, and we can give a little bit of advice and kind of help you on your journey. I'd certainly like to do that. So maybe we can try to figure out a way to schedule one of these, every month and see what we can do. So, temperature probe options. I would, on that, I definitely would go. You can do some other type of probes, but my probe of choice has always been the RTD probe, and that's the PT100 from Auber. I know some other people use different type of probes. I have not had experience with them, so I can't really speak about what the best one is. I'm actually in the process of working on building a Arduino-based system with Brew Control, and I think that some of those might use a different. I think he uses a different. He might use a K thermocouple sensor on those. Now, my system that I'm going to build with the touchscreen is going to use the RTD probes that I already have, but there's a good possibility that there's another type of probe that's used that might be a little bit cheaper. But I have had great luck with the RTD probes, and I'm just not going to change that part of it. But you're definitely right. That may be a good video to do and check out and see what probes are out there and what works. So. Let's see here. Different temperature probe. Okay, yeah. Include the thermo well on that. Okay. Oh, fluke. Okay, a fluke meter. Okay. No, actually, I don't grow my hops in a container. I actually grow my hops just in the backyard, kind of free, and they're a little bit wild. They get out of hand sometimes. So, set up videos, ready to build my own. I just ordered a 30 amp for the. Hey, all right, no problem. I guess I have to ask the question, did you use my link? If you did, if you didn't, no problem, but I really appreciate it when you guys use my links that are in the video description. I get a little bit of money from it. Nothing, I'm not quitting my day job, obviously, from it, but when you guys use those links, it doesn't cost you guys any more, and it helps me out. I hate really bringing it up too much, but, it's one of those things where it helps me purchase things that I can share with you guys, and that's really always been my goals. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off any of this stuff. Like 110% of what I make on any of those things goes back into making videos for you guys. So, I've got some really big plans I want to go out and do at the HomebrewCon this year. I want to go out there and just do like videos, of all the new products. I don't ever see anybody cover NHC very well as far as new products go. I see a few things here and there, but I want to bring it to like an unprecedented level and do like interview as many people as I can about new products and look at new products and share all that stuff with you guys. And that anything you guys do with that just helps out a bunch. So it's always awesome. Yeah, thanks. Awesome. I'll tell Ryan to make sure he credits me on that. Oh, awesome, John. Is your standard wash size sink enough to clean your kettles if I have a similar I guess I don't know what a standard size sink is. I think I usually clean all my stuff in place. I don't really move it too much. I mean, my mash tun, I generally just like tip it up and dump it in the sink. I don't actually like completely put it down in the sink. So I'm not sure what the standard size is on a sink, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. So that's a great question. But I usually clean all my stuff in place. Like my boil kettle, I can just tip it right over into the sink. So I don't have too much issue with that. But so John Jensen, how do you know that they have tall sizes, by the way? Or were they available on my page, or did you find them another way? Are you telling me I need to add tall sizes? Let's see here. I think I answered everybody's questions there. It's hard sometimes to keep track of the chat. You guys don't say anything, and then all of a sudden everybody chimes in, so it's it's hard to keep up with it sometimes. What do you guys think of the like the bottling wands, the Blickman beer gun, and the counter pressure fillers and all that kind of stuff? What do you guys think about those? Anybody use those at all? Yeah, Kevin. You know, I don't have any issues with it. I mean, I can fit my speedles into it. I can fit all my fermentation vessels and everything into it. That's really the only thing that I kind of submerge as far as that goes. But you know, for my boil kettle and all that stuff, I just pretty much just dump it into there. I just dump it over on the side like that without breaking bottles. My mash tun, I think, will fit in there. I haven't tried it, but let me see here real quick. I think it'll fit in there. It might. Let's see. Nah, it won't fit. But I know it's already there. Sorry about that, guys. That was loud. Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. That was really loud. Oh, man. I hope everybody sees it and turns their speakers down. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I tried to. I should have put it on the low latency chat. I had that on the last time that we did the live session, and it worked a lot better, but I couldn't change it after I started it, so I tried. That would be easily converted to a Herm system. Yeah, Chris, I mean, you can definitely build a controller for a brew in a bag system, and that's why we're live. Yeah, exactly. It's live. There's no hiding that, no editing that out. Yeah, I mean, you can build a controller for brew in a bag setup, and you can use it for a Herm system for sure. Hey, Josh, thanks for coming. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can't use out of a RIMS or a brew in a bag setup that you can't use in a Herm setup. The only thing I would say is that would be you know, the box size might be the only thing. When you build your brew in a bag setup, you might get a bigger box so that you could expand into that same box. If you don't, then you might have to purchase another box. But other than that, that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Yeah, Kevin, anything for you? Anything for you? I'll make noise on your behalf. Blickman beer gun. Haven't tried it. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of. I've been thinking about doing like a rundown video on the. Mike, one of my buddies, has got the original Blickman beer gun, and I'm getting my hands on the version 2, and then I've seen some pretty neat ones over at Morebeer, and they've got a pretty cool counter. Let me show you guys. As a matter of fact, I saw it the other day, and because I was looking at spunding valves on there, and they have a pretty cool one because it has like a pressure relief valve and all that kind of stuff on there. Let's see, counter pressure bottle filler. Let's see here. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so this is the one I saw that's on Morebeer, and it actually has a like a spunding valve on it, and I'm assuming you just bring in your beer in one side and the CO2 in the other. I think is how it works. I'm not sure, but looks interesting. So I was thinking about seeing if I can get my hands on one of those and check it out. Do like a little bit of a rundown on it. Because the other, let's see, that's the version 2. Is this the version that you have? That one looks pretty interesting. It's got a few. I've heard some people have some issues with it, so that was one of the things I was kind of wondering about, if anybody had any issues that they're having with it or whatever. So I don't know. Just wondering what people's success has been, because I've heard there's been a little bit of foaming and whatnot with that, so I don't know. What did I do here? Must have gone full screen. Oop. So you're building, let's see, John. Okay, okay. Yeah, John, I mean, you know, it's always good to, if you think you're going to progress in the hobby and maybe do a different system or whatever. Not saying that I wouldn't do the same thing that I did here, but I'm really impressed with the single vessel electric brewing system. Had I do it all over again, I might have gone a different way. Yes, John, the beer gun is for bottling. I would say it's not for like bottling on the fly, quick and easy, couple of bottles, because you got to clean everything, sanitize everything. I'm looking at it. It would be kind of cool because I do some beers sometimes, and it's like, okay, maybe I would save some for future, like holidays or whatever. And with the Blickman beer gun, I don't know about the counter pressure filler from Morebeer, but the Blickman will actually allow you to purge the bottle with CO2 first, and then purge the top of it with some CO2, and that's supposed to keep the oxidation down. Every once in a while, I'll do complete disassembly, like maybe once a year. And there's usually a little bit of gunk and stuff in there that when you take it apart, I usually don't have any issues with that. So, sorry, honey, it was only supposed to be an hour. I didn't think I'd be on this long. Well, good night, love. I'll call you soon. Oh, actually, I just read the rest of that. I think that's my roll call. So, I will, I'm being summoned, so, happy wife, happy life. But I appreciate everybody hanging out and everybody asking the questions and stuff. And I'll see if I can come up with some kind of time to do this once a month. And yeah, Kevin, I can open up a basement window. So I am gonna wrap it up now, and I really appreciate everybody hanging out and asking questions and all that stuff. It's been a absolutely wonderful time. So I really appreciate everybody, all the support from everybody. People bought T-shirts, and don't forget the if you don't want to buy a T-shirt, there is the stickers that are available. So $5 free shipping worldwide. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Cheers. Hope everybody has a good night, and we will see you on the next video or next live stream. We got more stuff in the pipeline. So yeah, Daniel, I will definitely see if I can work this into a once a month thing and answer you guys' questions. So everybody have a good night, and we will see you.